Thanks very much. It's true, I have won a few awards, but none for public speaking. And now you know why. That's a pretty bad start for a TEDx talk. It's such a cliche. You must think I'm a loser. Well, prepare to be blown away. Look at that. Way better. That was approved by a focus group. For those who don't know what a focus group is, it's where a group of people with no experience or expertise in anything get together and tell brands how they should market themselves. Some people think that makes them an ad agency, but I think that's cruel. Anyway, I'm not into advertising anymore. I'm into branded entertainment, so I can do way better than this. Check this out.
Times change. Times change.
Okay. That didn't work like I'd hoped. In my head last night, you were all dancing on your chairs, singing Times Change with me. Should have listened to my wife and just come up with a good idea for an intro. A slide that actually meant something, had some purpose. But instead, I stuck to cliches and I did, I guess, what brands do. They stick to fonts, jingles, and they make a lot of noise. It would have been better for me if I had come up with an idea, but ideas are really hard. You have to sit in front of a white blank sheet of paper and you have to think. And if the stock exchange taught us anything this year, thinking is very, very dangerous. Perhaps overrated. So before I lose you completely, I want to make one point of three, and that is that if brands are to succeed in this open age, they have to become ethical. In this day of openness, people realize corporations, not leaders, determine society's fate. This is very dangerous for brands that are doing the wrong thing, because if they are, they can become disheveled. And if you don't believe me, I have two words for you, which you've already seen. Lance Armstrong. Now, to me, this guy sums up most global brands today. They're out to win, and they're out to maintain an image at all costs. Now, if a few people get hurt along the way, that's what lawyers are for. That's what PR is for. That's what lobby groups are for. That's what advertising is for. But in this day and age, I think that brand maintenance is unsustainable. If a company is doing more harm than good, it will eventually fall to online protests, social media, and anyone with a smartphone and a conscience. This is good news for brands that want to stand out, because they will actually have something of substance to say. Oh, he's not so bad after all. Which leads me to the point of communication. No one is interested in your advertising anymore, not in this day and age. So you've got to communicate your values. Oh boy.
Let's communicate.
It doesn't work. No one's dancing. So people don't care what you have to say, they only care what you do. I can get up here and I can promote, you've got to communicate your values, I can have it sung by a performer, a good performer. But ultimately, it only matters what you do. So I need to demonstrate my point just as brands do. This brand perfectly demonstrates my point. You might have seen it. It's a very, very simple animation that demonstrates Chipotle's ethical values. Talk about an open environment. This played once in the US and was tweeted around the world. Even my parents in Australia saw it on the news, and there's no Chipotle in Australia.
Just guessing at numbers and figures, pulling the puzzles apart. Questions of science, science and progress don't speak as loud as my heart. Nobody said it was easy. It's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be so hard. I'm going back back to the start.
So it's not hard to see why Chipotle gets so much love in the US. And I can't take any credit for that as much as I'd like to, but I can for the next one. And it's an ad I did for Dove. When I worked on Dove, they had a self-esteem fund, and I figured that was a brand worth working on, because any beauty-related brand that tackles self-esteem is pretty brave. And I think brave brands attract people, and a lot of us really wanted to work on that. And the spot that came out of it was this. It earned Unilever about $100 million worth of free media, just because they were a brand with something to say, and they did a good execution of it. I've seen that too many times. Thanks. Unilever now has a mandate to halve their environmental footprint and double their profits. And I think that is a great way to get your employees to start sitting down, looking at a white sheet of paper and thinking about great new ideas for the business and how to move society forward. And it's those ideas that are going to be a lot more valuable to the Unilever brand than any advertising ideas in the next decade, I suspect. Now, my last point is a little bit of a cliche, a bit like my first one, so bear with me. But I don't know who of you remembers Lost, the TV show. But if you do remember it, you'll remember Kate, Sawyer, and Jack and that love triangle, the stupid smoke monster that made no sense, and season 6 where the writers had to tie everything together and couldn't. But one thing you wouldn't remember from watching that 6 years of Lost is one single ad. People do not remember ads. They remember great characters, great stories. So if you're a brand with values, stop making ads and start telling great stories. That's what Chipotle are doing now, and I can't tell you much about this, but it was written by an Oscar-nominated, or co-written by an Oscar-nominated screenwriter. It involves characters, it's long format, involves story, and it costs far less to make this than it did to place a few ads on Lost. So there's my cliche, communicate with stories. It's a cliche because a lot of advertising and media people will tell you to do this all the time, but in all my years of advertising, I didn't learn the first thing about storytelling. I had to learn that from my producer partner, Daniel Rosenberg, who was in film and television for 15 years. Finally, great stories can come from anywhere. If you're thinking that all this is great, but my brand has no story to tell, you're wrong, and I can prove it. A serial came to me once with the worst of marketing nightmares. We have nothing to say. We are old. We are completely forgotten. By embracing those values and being honest about it, we came up with this.
You left it blank under strengths.
Yeah, I had no strengths.
Skills?
None.
I want you to head up product development.
Fantastic. What would I do?
Absolutely nothing. Post-original shredded wheat hasn't changed since 1892, and I want to keep it that way. It's just one honest ingredient with natural fiber, vitamins, and minerals, no add-ons or plug-ins. It's perfect. fact is, civilizations are destroyed by progress. The Romans hit a dead end on their road to ever onward, and no sooner had the pharaohs built those freakish triangles and giant cement cats that they flushed themselves down the Nile. That's why progress plays no role inside post-shredded wheat. Here, we put the no in innovation. Henry Perky created shred.
All right, I'm out of time, so I better stop that there. So, you know, every brand has a story to tell. Today's topic is openness. When it comes to branding, you cannot rely on advertising, PR, and lawyers anymore to protect your brand. The public are all over you. And if you're honest, vulnerable, and good, you'll succeed because good beats evil every time. And if you're entertaining on top, you will kill it. Please thank Ray for me, and thanks a lot.
Tell me